Hi. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos over the past few years, and I've very rarely put anything up myself. And given the state of the economy at the moment, I thought it'd be good to put in my 2 pence worth before the entire economy collapses and we all starve to death. And so what I had in mind was a quick video blog of some of the dishes I like to make, and I'm going to take it from there, really. So this is installment number 1. It's not very often I get a house to myself, so these are going to be very intermittent. I can't predict when I'm going to be able to put another one up. But here we go. Today I'm going to start by making some pasta, okay? Pasta's always really simple. And today I'm going to make one with sun-dried tomatoes. So the ingredients I'm going to be using are sunflower oil, onion, sun-dried tomatoes, pasta, tomato puree, a few chilies, and I'm probably going to stick in a bit of cheese for some good measure. So, one of the things I also want to do on this video is put on how much it costs so you can find out whether it's worth doing yourself. But to be honest, generally I'm going to try and make them fairly cheap because I'm a bit of a peasant myself, so I can't really afford truffles and lobsters, and I've seen some of those cookbooks which are quite ridiculous anyway, so here we go. Okay, so part of this dish is going to be sun-dried tomatoes, of course, and these are going to be the most expensive part of this pasta. Now, generally you can buy one of those jars in one of those supermarkets for a couple of quid, for about £2.50 or something like that. It gives you about 200 grams. I ended up buying this mammoth jar because I like sun-dried tomatoes and I use them in quite a few different things. This was $17.65 and it would save me a lot of money, put it that way. So chop up about six or so little sun-dried tomatoes. This is if you're making it for about 2 people. And then you want an onion about. It doesn't really matter how big the onion is, but you probably want, I don't know, about just under half of something about this size. That's for 2 people. And then you stick it on the hob. This is actually really quite quick once you start cooking it. So you can put the pasta on immediately. Okay, once you've chopped everything up. Okay, so here we are. Bit of sunflower oil. That, and then you wait for it to heat up a little bit. I've measured out 200 grams of pasta. That's enough for 2 people, or for 1 person twice, and later on for 1 big fat git. And what I also got is some water with some salt. put a bit of water in the pan, usual pasta malaki. Put a bit of water. I prefer using the kettle. And okay, this is a few seconds later, and here we are. The oil's hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the tomatoes, which are fairly roughly chopped. It's pretty large. I've also grated some cheese, some cheddar cheese. That ends up softening it all up at the very end. Okay, so I've got some onions in here, and the sun-dried tomatoes. Let the onions soften a bit. And before you put the chili and the tomato puree in. Now, how much tomato puree? That's a matter of taste, really. If you put in, say, I don't know, people might go on big tablespoons, say 3 tablespoons or something like that. Yeah, the water's boiled. Okay, now that's going to save us a bit of time. And if you like sun-dried tomatoes, this is actually really nice. It smells really nice, and then it's enhanced by the tomato puree, and you get that bit of kick from the chilies, which is really good. Okay, so, and here we're going to put in the chili and the chilies and the tomato puree. How much tomato puree? Anyone's guess. A dollop. That much. That's about 2 and a bit tablespoons, maybe, I suppose, something like that. 2 and a bit tablespoons, maybe a little bit more. Stir it around. And it does tend to clump together. So keep the heat low. I mean, at the beginning, I put the heat up high just to warm up just to heat the water up. But yep, need to get some water on. You get the pasta on because this part's nearly done. Okay, and chilies again to taste. Okay, if you like it hot, put a lot of chilies in. If you don't like it hot, don't put many chilies in. I'll put a few in, just like a pinch in. Stir it around. And there we have it. That's your condiment ready, I suppose. And now all we're doing is waiting for the water to boil. You are the water to boil, boil. Putting a little bit extra sunflower oil in here is not actually a bad idea, just so that it stays quite moist. Because otherwise it will tend to dry up. Okay. In fact, you didn't even need to keep this cooking for much longer because, to be honest, the sun-dried tomatoes do tend to overcook. But if they burn, then it's not really as nice. How much cheese? About this much cheese. It's not loads, again, to taste. I don't know if you want to put it in tablespoons, quantity, something like that. Put in about, I don't know, about 3 or 4 heaped tablespoons of grated cheese. And I tend to choose the mature or extra mature, preferably extra mature because it's got a bit more flavour to it. And that's pretty much it. It's just a waiting game now, waiting for the pasta to cook and making sure that the sun-dried tomatoes don't burn. Okay, so now we have our pasta, drained pasta as usual. Don't rinse water over the pasta because they say that it tends to stop the cooking process or something like that if you don't do that. But to be honest, it does also cool it down a bit too much. Not that that's a major problem. Mix in the sun-dried tomatoes, onions, chili, and tomato puree. Stir it around, and put in the cheese afterwards. Now the cheese is actually quite a nice touch, but it's a good idea if it melts as well. So cheese in there, stir it around on a very low heat. And there you have it. With a nice glass of Ace fruit drink from Lidl.